Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Well, thank you, Karen, and good morning. Good morning. I am Reverend Andy Allis, and I was ordained earlier this year at One Spirit Interfaith Seminary, where your friend, the wonderful Reverend Mark Fowler, was my dean. And yes, wonderful. Mark has told me so many great things about you and this community, and John and I have certainly been experiencing it already with Joseph and Nick, and it's a pleasure to be here. Mark didn't tell me about Freddie the heckler, though, so I'm going to watch out for him. But it's a pleasure to be here and to share some thoughts with you about peace. And first, I should confess to you that I'm a New Thought newbie. I had never heard about it until last year. And one of our assignments at seminary was to do different research on spiritual leaders, and I came across this guy, Ernest Holmes. Maybe you've heard of him. And he really intrigued me. I liked his practical approach to spirituality and his teaching that we all have direct and immediate access to the creative and enlivening power of God, of ultimate love, of universal mind. Direct and immediate access. And as we consider that spiritual immediacy and our theme of peace, Dr. Holmes says in his prayer for world peace, deep within every person, the divine pattern of perfect peace is already implanted. Deep within every person, the divine pattern of perfect peace is already implanted. So right here, right now, divine peace is. The potential for us to realize it is here, it's now, within all of us. We just need to recognize our peace, to claim our peace, and to act on our peace. Or how I define it later, perform our peace. And you'd think at this time of year that would be easier than usual to do, since messages of love and peace and harmony are all around us right now. We're constantly reminded by our faith traditions and advertising that this is the time of year for good cheer, for goodwill, for good sales, and long lines, and long lists, and traffic jams, and stress, and expectation, and exhaustion, and resentment, and anxiety. And you hear things like, hey, you took my parking space. Or, if your mother makes one more comment about how dry the turkey is, I am gonna. Or, where's my Barbie? I asked for a Barbie. I'm gonna kill Santa. So for many of us, this time of year is crazy, which makes it actually harder than usual to recognize our patterns of perfect peace. They might feel a little too deeply implanted, which means that this could be the best time of year, the most wonderful time of year to cultivate our peace. The Zen Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh says in his book, Creating True Peace is always possible, yet it requires strength and practice, particularly in times of great difficulty. To some, peace and nonviolence are synonymous with passivity and weakness. In truth, practicing peace and nonviolence is far from passive. To practice peace, to make peace alive in us, is to actively cultivate understanding, love, and compassion, even in the face of misperception and conflict. To practice peace, to make peace alive in us, is to actively cultivate love, compassion, and understanding, even in the face of misperception and conflict. So if we want peace, we must first accept its ever-ready presence and potential, and make a conscious choice to cultivate it, especially in difficult situations. All right, but how? Here are a couple of ideas. My partner John and I live in Manhattan, and I commute by subway to work every day, which is challenging at any time of the year. But during the holiday season, you add 300 million tourists with 300 million Macy's bags, and they're all trying to squeeze into the same subway car, and they're yelling at their children, and their children are screaming, and there's snow, and there's muck, and there's Starbucks flying everywhere, and soon this reverend wants to take someone out. So, in such moments, and I bet you all have your own versions of these, a great practice for cultivating understanding, love, and compassion is to do a metta meditation, M-E-T-T-A, metta, or a loving kindness meditation from the Buddhist tradition. And it's simply directing well wishes to others, silently directing well wishes to others. And the one I do, which I learned from Diane Burke at One Spirit Seminary, she's the founder, goes like this. I close my eyes, I take a few deep breaths, I drop in, and I silently offer this to others, like the annoying people in the subway, for example. May your heart be filled with loving kindness. May you be freed from all suffering, illusion, and fear. May you accept yourself and others completely. May you be happy and at peace. I'll say it again. May your heart be filled with loving kindness. May you be freed from all suffering, illusion, and fear. May you accept yourself and others completely. May you be happy and at peace. So imagine, over the next few weeks, when that jerk at King Cullen cuts in line, instead of giving him the Bronx salute, you take a breath and you offer him this meditation. I can almost guarantee that your heart rate will go down, your breathing will slow, and your sense of peace will come alive. You can offer it to anyone and everyone at any time, including yourself. It's a beautiful practice. And notice I said it's a practice. Peace must be practiced. Now, there may be situations this season when offering a metta meditation may not be enough. For example, you may have to go once again to your in-laws for the annual holiday meal, and your brother-in-law is going to be there and he just pushes your buttons. Only his religious views are right. Only his political views are right. Only turkey with gravy is right. And you're wrong, and he lets you know about it. So, while breathing and sending him some loving kindness is a start, you might only be able to do so much of that before you explode and throw the gravy in his face. Now, that would be a perfect time to remember Charles Fillmore reminding us, it is the law of spirit that we must be that which we would draw to us. If we would draw to us love, we must be love, be loving and kind. If we would have peace and harmony in our environments, we must establish it within ourselves. So if we would draw to us peace in that moment with our brother-in-law, we must be peace. It's up to us in that moment. Our brother-in-law isn't going to change his behavior, but we can change ours and possibly the environment by being peace, by doing it. Another way of saying being or doing peace is the title of this talk, Performing Peace. And with the word performing, I mean it in this case both as carrying out an action or pattern of behavior and as in consciously performing a role. Now I can hear you thinking already, is this guy suggesting that I perform a role, that I act all peaceful with my brother-in-law instead of throwing the gravy? Yes, I am. But I can't do that. I'm not an actor. I don't know how to do that. Yes, you can. how many of you as children ever played at being someone else? Maybe a storybook or TV character or a superhero or even an adult you idolized? And how many of you as adults have done something before knowing how to do it? Like raising your first child or pet, or grieving the loss of a loved one for the first time, or starting a new job. Many of us have already had the experience of performing something that we're not, like when we played as kids, and we do things we've never done before without knowing how to do them all the time. So in addition to having an inherent capacity for peace, we also have an inherent capacity to perform in other ways than we usually do without knowing how to beforehand. So yes, rather than throw the gravy, you can choose to do a peaceful performance with your brother-in-law, even if you don't think you can or never have done before or even want to. And like this, in this example, if in the next few weeks you know ahead of time that you're going to be in a stressful situation or with someone who upsets you, why not start cultivating a performance of peace before that moment? Set a heartfelt intention, like, Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace, whatever works for you. Make it a heartfelt intention that no matter how you're provoked or triggered, you are going to perform peacefully. You're going to actively cultivate understanding, love, and compassion, even in the face of misperception and conflict. Dr. Joseph Cusimano, in his book Transforming Scrooge, refers to Marianne Williamson's interpretation of A Course in Miracles, saying, "We should not react adversely or defensively to fearful, abusive, defense-driven attempts of others to push us away. Our show of love, despite the negative reactions of others, is good for us, and it can possibly lead to the miracle of awakening of their loving, soulful side. We can't make it happen directly, but we can react differently. We can react differently to make it possible for them to accomplish only what they alone are capable of doing. We can react differently. And a great way to help us react differently when we're triggered is to perform as someone else would in that situation. Perform like you did as a kid and consciously imitate the qualities of someone who represents peace to you. Like, it could be a real person or a fictional character. For example, you could choose to perform as the Dalai Lama, or as Jesus, or as your sweet grandmother, or as Santa Claus. And I don't mean responding to your brother-in-law like, ho, 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 Merry Christmas. That's not, no. You still want to be yourself, so the people don't think you're playing with them. But you just want to think more of how you perform when you're feeling jolly and generous like Santa Claus. Do that performance. So choosing a character or a role model can help inspire and direct you, and you can get through some rough moments by staying in character like an actor would, but you're only performing the qualities of the character as you would. You're still being and doing and performing you. And you're not denying the fact that your brother-in-law is ticking you off. This is not about dissociating or being fake. You're still aware of your anger, but you're making a conscious choice to react differently to it. Maybe in a way you never have before, by performing differently, fueled by your heartfelt intention of cultivating peace. Now, this practice is actually an element of a therapeutic approach called social therapy, which I learned from a therapist years ago in preparation for an annual holiday gathering at which I knew there'd be tension. So, I decided to perform peace with the help of a character from A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. And that character was Fred, who is the kind and cheerful nephew of the cranky old miser Ebenezer Scrooge. And as you probably know, Scrooge hates Christmas and any joy associated with it, thinking it a bunch of humbug. And at one moment, he nastily dismisses Fred's invitation to Christmas dinner. And in that moment, rather than respond in kind to Scrooge's belligerence, Fred keeps an open heart and says earnestly, "I'm sorry, Uncle, with all my heart, to find you so resolute. We have never had any quarrel to which I have been a party, but I have made the trial in homage to Christmas, and I'll keep my Christmas humor to the last, so a Merry Christmas, Uncle." Fred makes a conscious choice to keep his Christmas humor and offers it instead of a nasty comeback to his grumpy uncle. He's actively cultivating peace. And there was someone Scrooge-like at my holiday gathering, and no matter how much humbug they gave me, rather than give humbug right back, as I did at previous gatherings, this time I only replied with my version of Fred's Christmas humor. And because I was responding differently, they did too. They actually backed down. And our interaction actually became lighter and easier. So, I went into an expectedly tense situation with the intention of cultivating peace no matter what, and I reacted differently than how I usually would by performing the peaceful qualities of someone other than myself. Performing peace works. Now, I realize this approach may not be for everyone, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for truly abusive or violent behaviors and situations, but performing peace may be a useful and a playful and even enjoyable way for you to have peace of mind, and that's peace of mind with a capital M, during this potentially stressful next few weeks and any time. So whether or not you decide to offer a metta meditation or to perform peace, know that peace is already within us and ready to be realized. But if we want to truly realize it for ourselves, for each other, and for the world, we need to make a conscious choice to cultivate it. Many blessings to you. May your holidays be peaceful. And thanks for listening.